सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्द्वैता 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 एतद्द्वैता.
Hello.
Sir.
Yes, good evening to all. Shall we start, sir? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome.
राजेंद्र कुमार जी जय जयंती कैसे हैं? How are you, sir?
Because we only got.
I'm fine, sir. Sir, welcome to Kumbakonam. One of the, of course, chairman will do the honors. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll talk later.
Welcome. It is my great pleasure to introduce CA Pramod Jain, sir, for this pleasant speaker of this day. He is a commerce graduate from Sri Ram College of Commerce. He is a fellow member of ICA, ICS, ICMA. He is a Bachelor of Law also. He has qualified information system auditor from ICA. He is also member of All India Management Association. He is also an advanced professional. Proficiency, self-assessment test, independent director database, everything he is having. Cannot comment on that. He has been elected as a Central Council member of ICA for the period of 1922. Apart from being a member of more than 25 committees, groups, taking director of ICA, he is a chairman committee of international taxation for the year 21-22, taxation audit quality review board for the year 21-22, chairman of valuation standard board, chairman of CSR committee, vice chairman of committee of MSME and startup for the year 21-22. Also, a women members empowerment committee, vice chairman of directors committee, members of ICC disciplinary committee bench, also nominated as a member of quality review board. It's a conspiracy portal, which is one-stop solution. Okay, it's delivered more than 1,300 lectures and articles on various topics of income tax, corporate laws, LLP, audits, peer review, quality review, with more than 200 firms throughout the country. He's a senior partner of Buckland & Co. Chartered Accountant. He's a president, founder, convener, and member of various boards, directorate, committees, study circle, etc. of ICI, ICSI, and other prestigious bodies and associations. He has been a technical reviewer of FFRB and a quality review board, and peer reviewer with the peer review board. He has authored books. It is so much list we have to read. It is exhaustive. He has written various articles on taxation, company law, and audit in various journals. He has a vast practical experience in income tax, audit, corporate laws, and LLP. With this, I introduce to the Honors House, Mr. CA Pramod Jain. Thank you, sir. Please take over.
Chairman, sir, if you permit me 2 words about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can proceed, sir.
Council member.
Yes, sir.
Esteemed members of Kumbakonam branch, sorry for interrupting the treatise which my friend Pramod Jain is going to make before all of you. But I have to tell more than what was read out from his profile by our Honorable Chairman CA Sundar. Pramod Jain comes in the category of intellectuals. I must record this for the purpose of this meeting. He is an intellectual first, a leader par excellence, and a person who has gained the grounding of education in Sri Ram College of Commerce under the able guidance of many professionals, including Dr. Girish Ahuja. Pramod Jain Saab, I most heartily welcome you to this very small branch far away from your capital, national capital, Delhi. In fact, Kumbakonam happens to be one of the most pious, a place known for temples, a place which is brimming with divinity. The moment you enter the district of Tanjavur, and as you keep proceeding to Kumbakonam and alongside the villages and the small towns, you can feel the vibe, you can feel the divinity that enters you. And the members here are very hospitable. They enjoy a very nice, simple style of living. And whenever there is an opportunity, all of us, we certainly go to Kumbakonam at least to savor what is known as the wonderful degree coffee of Kumbakonam. The coffee of Kumbakonam is extremely famous in the south of India. And sir, once the physical activity opens up, it will be my most humble request that you with your family should visit this place and get the blessings of the God's temples here. In fact, there is a temple where it is said that Lord Rama, on his way to Ayodhya or on his way to Sri Lanka, exactly I don't remember, was there in that temple, was there in that place, and the temple has come up in that place. Thousands of temples are there. Shani Bhagavan's first temple is also near Kumbakonam only, where pujas and archanas take place. The members here are hospitable, intellectual, and also from this city, they have given numerous leaders to the institute. One such person is G. Sitaraman, who was our president. G. Narayanasamy was a member par excellence and a central council member. They all hail from Kumbakonam, the city of divinity in Tamil Nadu. And members, I will not now stand before you and the intellectual share that Pramod Jain sir is going to make. Thank you very much, Chairman sir, for accepting my request that Pramod Jain be called. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the very kind words, the Chairman sir and my very dear friend Rajinder Kumarji, my senior colleague in the council, who's always guiding me whenever there is a need arise. And he's currently the chairman of the GST and the indirect tax committee. And the way he's handling since the last year itself, last year also he was a chairman. Prior to that, he was the vice chairman in the first year. But thereafter, he has taken the lead and is performing par excellence, bringing out materials, programs for the dissemination of knowledge for the benefit of members. So whenever it is required to put his views, he is always very strongly putting his views on the table of the council whenever it's required. So that is really remarkable, Rajendra Bhai. Keep on doing that and keep guiding me whenever it is required in the council. So nice of you. Thanks a lot, Rajendra Bhai. And I thank Saravana Sundarji and the whole Kumbakonam branch for inviting me to share my views on a topic which all chartered accountants in practice are not practicing. A subject which is not being practiced by, I would say, all of the chartered accountants in practice, S&P practitioners. Because if I talk about tax audit, if I talk about ITR, if I talk about certain subjects of salary, house property, capital gain, that is being practiced by everyone. But trusts, charitable entities is a subject which is practiced, and the deep therein understanding is restricted to a few. We'll not be talking about the deep understanding of the subject, the section 11, 12, 12A, 12AA, 12AB, 13. I will not be talking about those and 1023C and others, but we'll be talking about the subject which has been assigned to me, that is the registrations and renewal of the registrations for such entities. So I'll be sharing my presentation, and any questions which you have on any of the sheet, kindly don't hesitate and put the questions there itself and not waiting at the end, because at that time, if it is understood, we are discussing because we are a small branch. So in-house, it is everything is in-house, and whatever is in your mind, please be very, very frank to raise the issue, right? So I'll be sharing a presentation, then we'll be going on. We'll be talking about this renewal registrations under sections 12A, 1023C, 80G, and 35. We'll be talking mainly about the renewal and registrations. You know, if I talk about a thing that till 31st March 2021, though it was, these amendments were made by the Finance Act 2020, yet due to pandemic and non-availability of the forms and other procedures, this was extended by an year. So now it is applicable from 1st April 2021. So up to 31st March 2021, the registrations which the entities were having under section 12A, 80G, they were for the lifetime. So once you had it, it was there forever. At least 12A was there since the beginning for the lifetime. 80G earlier was required to be renewed every 3 years. But then in 2007-8, it was thought that we need to reduce the compliances. And it was said that once it has been taken, so thereafter there would be no renewal and it would be there for the lifetime. So charitable entity which was having a registration under section 80G, since that date are still continuing to avail of that 80G. We all know that 80G is basically the benefit which is given to the donor, that when he is donating a money to the donee, which is registered under 12 and 80G, so on the making of that donation, that person is getting deduction under chapter 6A, part B, under section 80G, depending upon, I would say, the income 10%, 50%, 100%, that is there in 80G. Whosoever it may be, whether it is a trust society or a section 8 company, they have to get it registered. And now, just for your information, any charitable trust, a society or a section 8 company, if they want to avail of the benefit of the CSR funds of the company to undertake those CSR activities on behalf of those companies, now it is required by them to mandatorily have the registration under section 12 and 80G. So if they are not having both of these, they won't be allowed to undertake the CSR activities on behalf of the companies who are required to spend on the CSR activities. So up to 31st March, the registration was lifetime. From 1st April 2021, if you are a new entity, new trust, new society, new company, you will get a provisional which would be there for 3 years. For the existing one, you have to get the registration, which would be there for 5 years. And thereafter, renewal is there every 5 years. Renewal is there every 5 years. So we'll be talking about in detail about this. And for 80G, again, institutions who are already approved under 80G, they also have to apply for the approval. Again, it would not be there beyond 5 years. So every 5 years it is to be renewed. And institution, they have to furnish also a statement, a certificate, that what is the amount of donation which they have given. The donor has given the donation. The donee will be filing a statement and furnishing a certificate that how much amount has been given as a donation. Currently, what is happening that without that certificate, anyone is claiming ATG. Whenever it would be required, we will be furnishing the receipt. But now to get the benefit of deduction under Section 80G, this certificate would be required, and that would be required from financial year 2021-22, not the previous year ending. So from the current financial year, which is undergoing right now. So it is not for March 21. And deduction under Section 80G, that would be allowed only if that statement is furnished by them. Statement is furnished, and thereafter certificate is generated and issued to the donor. It would be coming to the AS26, right? Non-furnishing of the statement or non-issue of the certificate, the fee is 200 rupees per day under Section 234G. And non-filing or inaccurate filing of the particulars, the penalty is there under Section 271G, minimum 10,000, maximum 1 lakh. So I should be aware that for 80G, now a statement will have to be filed by the donee and a certificate has to be issued. We'll be talking about this again during this session at the end itself. So what are the amendments made by the Finance Act in the Income Tax Act 1961? What are the amendments made? So of course, there would be a 5-year registration renewal. Everything would be a 5-year plan, Panchvarshiya Yojana. And amendments are there in these sections: 12A, 12AA, 12AB. 12AA would become inoperative from 1st April 2021 because this is also a procedure, and this procedure would be applicable with effect from 1st April 2021. Registration is under Section 12A, procedure is under 12A. And again, 1023C, 1046, Section 35 and 80G. So all these are covered in these amendments. So to make these amendments applicable, the rules were also amended, and certain rules were amended and certain were added. So what are these? Rule 2C, that is for application for Section 1023C. So that has been amended. Rule 5C is for approval for Section 35. 5CA is intimation under Section 35. 5CF again is an guidelines and authority for Section 35. Rule 11AA has been inserted for the requirements for Section 80G. So these 3 sections are for Section 35. These 3 rules are for Section 35. For 80G, Rule 11AA. For 12A, registration of the trusts, 12A, it is 17A. And Rule 18AB is for certificates and statements to be furnished under Section 80G and 35. Both 80G and 35, where the donations are received by the donees, for that, the requirement for furnishing of the statement is given under Rule 18AB. So these are the rules amended. And further, now talking about the forms. Form CF, there were Form CF 1, 2, 3. All 3 has been done away with, and there is a new form replaced, which is for the registration or approval under Section 35. So that is Form 3CF. Now, next 2 forms are very, very important. And we will be concentrating upon these only. Form 10A. These are given under this rules 2C, 5CA, 11AA, 17A. This Form 10A is for the application for the existing registered trust. This is right now what we are doing since 1st April 2021, and the last date is 30th June as of now. And also there is a new trust, new company, new society. which needs to get itself registered. So they will have to get it registered through the provisional registration again, Form 10 only. So any registration required under 12A read with 12BA, 1023C, 80G, and even 35. They need to get it done under Form 10A by filing Form 10A. So we'll be discussing in detail what is not required. And of course, 10AB. 10AB is for registration after 5 years, or when it was provisional, then you have to file Form 10AB. You have to file Form 10AB. Yeah. Any questions, please? If you have any questions, you can just put in chat box also, right? 10AC is the order for the application when the form is filed in 10A. 1080 is for the order for the application filed in Form 10AB. And Form 10BD is the return. It is not annual, it is return for contribution under Section 80G and 5. This the donee has to file. And on filing this, the certificate would be generated in Form 10BE, which is given to the donor. Right? So we'll be talking about this form because this form is yet not made available online because the application after 3 years. So they have not worked over it. This online form is available. Right? And also this return for contribution is still not available because you still have time to do it. This 10, there is no time. The last date as of now is 30th June. So we'll be concentrating upon
Chairman, we don't hear you.
Sandil,
Chairman, we don't hear you.
hello. Sandil, are you there?
Sir, low, sir.
Sir, any problem?
Low, sir.
Check.
Connecting, sir.
Hello, sir. Please confirm. Are you audible? Sir?
Please connecting, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Hello.
செந்தில் அவருடைய மொபைல் நம்பர் வாங்கி வச்சீங்க.
இருக்கு.
சாருடைய மொபைல் நம்பர் தனியா இருக்குல்ல?
இருக்குமா?
அப்ப அவர்ட்ட டைரக்டா கேட்டுருங்க. இதுல கேட்க முடியாதுல்ல? ஆடிபிளா இல்லைங்கிறதால தான் அவரால ரெஸ்பான்ஸ் பண்ண முடியல. போன்ல போட்டுங்க.
Hello. Sir, we are not audible, sir.
I'm joining back.
Okay, sir. Thank you. He's joining back, please, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Some technical issue. Came, sir. Yes, sir. Please proceed.
Yeah, sorry, there was some issues in the network. Is the screen visible?
Yes,
Correct,
sir,
sir.
visible.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, visible. Thank you. So I'll repeat this slide again. You know, this slide is very important because whole concept of registration, because for registration there are basically two forms, 10A and 10AB. And the whole concept, whether it is under section 12A or 1023C or 80G or 35, everything is based similarly to these 6 clauses in 12A. Broadly, if I tell you, for all registrations, including 12A, because 12AB is the procedure, 12AB is the registration. For clause, subclause 1 and subclause 6, Form 10A is required. For all other, Form 10AB is required. If you see here also, time for granting registration for clause 1 and clause 6, it is different. For all others, it is 6 months. Right. So let us understand first this clause 1 and clause 6, and then go to clause 2, 3, 4, and 5. Clause 1, where a trust or an institution, a Section 8 company, a society, a charitable trust, it is already registered under Section 12AA as on 31st March 2021. Then it will have to apply in 10A within 3 months from 1st April 2021. That is by 30th June. And the registration with the unique ID would be created within 3 months of the application. And that registration would be there for years. After these 5 years, that you are then not registered in 12AA, so trust who are having registration under section 12AA or 80G or 1023C or 35, they have all have to file 10A existing who are already got that registration. Now there is a new trust society or a section 8 company who has yet got the registration. So they will have to file again Form 10A for the first time. They won't be granted the registration suo motu, they will be granted the provisional registration, which would be applicable for 3 years. And what is the time limit to file it? The time limit is at least 1 month prior to the commencement of the previous year relevant to the assessment year from which the such registration is sought. For example, your trust is registered, the trust is existing since 2017, 18, but you have not got 12A registration. Now you want to get registration. So you're not existing registered. So you have to go for this. So when you'll apply in April, you'll get the registration with effect from assessment year 22-23. That is financial year 21-22. You'll get the registration from this year itself. So the moment you apply, within 1 month, you will get a provisional registration. Within 1 month. So what is the time period to apply? Now, suppose you have created a trust, say in April 2021, and you have not applied under 10A. So at the fang end of the year, you say, okay, now I should apply. And you go and apply. So up to February 2022, if you apply, then you will get the registration for, let me use the word financial year, not assessment year, for the financial year 21-22 itself. But if you are filing in March, you will be getting the registration from next year. So the due date for filing for a new registration, for which a trust is registered during the year or not registered earlier under 12AA. For that matter, it is 80G, 35, whatever it may be. For all these sections, you have to file by 28th February of that financial year, so that you will get a provisional registration for 3 years. So this is for the existing got. So you have applied new in clause 6, that is again filing form 10A, choosing not registered earlier, choosing a provisional. So now you say that I have already started my activity. I have commenced my activity. Now for this, I have to go for clause 3, where the trust or institution has been provisionally registered under section 12AB. So when I apply here, I get registered under this 12AB. So if I'm registered here, then when I have to apply? Again, because I'm provisionally registered, 6 months prior to expiry of period of provisional registration. So 3 years are ending. I have still not commenced my activities. So 6 months prior to the activity. Commence 3 years, 6 months prior to the end of that period for which I was provisionally registered. But if I have already started, commenced, then within 6 months of commencement of the activity. Now, suppose I have got a trust registered in April 2021 and I have commenced my activity immediately. So the first process would be to file form 10A today. I get the provisional registration. And within 6 months, again, I have to file form 10B. So this new form 10B would be applicable within next 3-4 months. Because now if I have commenced, I have to apply. Now, when I have been registered here and 5 years are elapsed, or I have registered provisionally, and in that case, within 6 months, I have again got registered out here. So when the 5-year period is going to end, so within the last 6 months, at least 6 months prior to the expiry of the set period, I have to, because now I'm registered under 12AB. For provisionally within 6 months of the commencement, and for after getting not provisional but normal registration. So 6 months prior to the 5 years, I have to again apply, but that time I have to apply in clause 2. Again, form 10B would be going. Again, form 10B would be going. And then again, registration would be the fire. No, when I'm applying for 1 or 6, that is 10A, not much information which would be sought by the DIT exemption or CIT exemption. They will see the basic things, they will grant this initial registration. But when it is to be done under 10AB, they would be asking for all the financials and other things. So every 5 years, they would be seeing the activities of the trust and ensuring that yes, they are really doing those activities so that can be re-registered. Their registrations can be renewed. So every 5 years, it would be there. Now, if during this any period, the trust or institution has undertaken any modification of the objects, then again they have to apply within 30 days. Again, form 10AB. This is clause V. And this is there purely in 12A and not in others. Basically because here where the registration of the trust or institution has become inoperative due to first provision section 11.7. And this 11.7 says that a trust or a society or an institution, it cannot get registration both under 12A and 1023C. दोनों में से you have to keep only one. So if you have got registration in 2, both become inoperative, you take one. Or you are already registered under 1023C, you want to get registered into 12A, you are applying there, 1023C goes, then you have to go for this. So here, already existing, you get registration for 5 years. A new one, you get a provisional registration for 3 years. And in both the cases, you apply under clause 3 or clause 2. Within this period, you'll get again, you'll get a registration. And again, you have to, within 6 months from the end of the month in which the application was received. And after the inquiries, in this case, there were no inquiries. In this case, there is no inquiries. And after the inquiries, the registration would be granted for 5 years if it is granted. Any questions on this, please? Any questions on this, please?
Sir, I have one query, sir.
Please.
Sir, suppose an educational institution and the gross receipts are less than 1 crore and for which
Yeah.
their claim exemption under 1023 AD.
Yeah.
So is it mandatory to go for registration or continue to claim same exemption? Because now it increased to 5 crores now.
Yeah, very right. Now it is increased to 5 crores. So legally not required. Legally not required because 1023C3 AD and AE. AD is for educational institutes, AE for medical institutes. For both of them, it is currently not required. But now you should take care. You should take care that their receipts may be other than education, then there could be an issue. Because to them, section 56 to 10 is also applicable. 56 to 10 is also applicable. So please, because 56 to 10 is not applicable to the entities who are registered under section 12A. So take a call whether to keep on claiming 1023C3 AD or get them registered under section 12A, because if you get them registered under section 12A, yes, their activities would be monitored by the income tax department every 5 years. Every 5 years. And because it's an education institute, and if suppose it also wants CSR funds, then again they want the entity to be registered under section 12A and ATG. So keeping all those things in mind, take it.
Thank you.
But per se, your initial question, required, not required.
Thank you.
Great.
So, shall I ask you one question, sir?
Yes, sir, please.
Regarding this modification of the object class, you said that it has to be done within 30 days. Should it be routed through the sub-register of society or register of societies and then go to the IT authorities? First getting it approved from the register of societies, or as the case may be, whether register of societies or ROC or whoever it is, and then go to the IT department.
Very good question. Now, the issue is, if I see the registration certificates and the conditions, they say prior approval is required. The wording which is given in those certificates are that prior approval orders, I would say, that prior approval is required. Practically, it sometimes becomes very, very difficult. Even in case of, I would say, gratuity trust, superannuation trust, they say prior approval is required. And because these things, I would say, again, are very, very tough, because you have to hear for gratuity trust and other trust, it is still manual, but here it would become online because you have to file Form 10A. So legally, you have to take a prior approval, and on the approval, you can amend. But the issue again, they would be asking for the amended deed. The problem is they would be asking for the amended deed, or amended your bylaws, or amended the memorandum in case of companies. So whatever the status is. So there is some, I would say, misunderstanding or non-clarity out here. But the best way out is the objects. It is only change in related to the objects. So be very careful. It is better to take a prior approval and not risk the 12A and ATG. You are mute, sir. You are still mute, sir.
Very difficult to satisfy those people, sir.
Yes. I fully understand, but the objects, if those all are still remaining charitable, because you'll be filing it online, they would be verifying it online. So I suppose there should not be too much difficulty. Currently, I'll be coming in the future slides for subclause 1 and subclause 6. CPC Bengaluru has been authorized to grant that order for registration. For the 2, 3, 4, and 5, they have still not notified. Maybe it is jurisdictional, or they give it to NEAC. I really don't know, because currently still they have not notified.
Question on chat box.
One question: if income tax returns were not filed earlier by an unregistered trust and they file return for financial year 2021, can they get the 12-way registration, and how far before the income tax department check after applying 10AB form? In this case, I just told they will have to apply form 10A. And when I will be discussing form 10A, they have specifically mentioned whether you have filed your ITR earlier or not. So if you have not filed an ITR, then certain details are required. I'll be coming out with those details. If you are filing an ITR, then in 10A, those details are not required. Right? Just 1 second, an important call. I'm just taking just 1 second. Sorry. Yeah. So we'll be coming on that form. So that issue would be clarified. Currently, yes, if you are filing 1 year ITR, so that should be fine. File ITR for 2021, and then you can apply for 10A during this year itself. And in other cases, you'll have to then, in all cases, you have to enclose the 3 years financials. I'll be discussing when we're coming to this form 10, right? So just understanding basically this, again, I'm repeating, because a lot of time questions would be asked. Till today, there is no form 10B, 10AB, what to do. Currently, it is not required, because no form is to be filed in 10B. In 10A, either you will be filing in subclause 1 or subclause 6. Now, 10A, 10AB, again repeating, 10A is to be filed where application for the trust are already registered, or application for the trust which are registering for the first time. Here it would be for 5 years, here it would be for 3 years. And all applications have to be filed separately. For example, you have to file both for 12A as well as ATG. So one form 10A you will file for 12A and another for ATG. One you will be filing for 1023C and another for ATG. You cannot file for all simultaneously in a single form. So each of these separately. Each of these separately. Registering for the first time, separately. You have to file separately. Please take note of this. So I would be saying that for the existing trust, you will be, who are registered under 12A as well as ATG, you will be filing 2 forms, one for 10A, one for 12A, one for ATG. So practically we will be filing 2 forms, so 2 fees. Please ensure, if it is a religious trust, then you can waive off the fee on your emotional content or the religious faith. But if it is a charitable trust, other than that, please do charge your fee appropriately, depending upon their actual activity, how much funds they require, and all those things. But do charge for both of them. There is nothing like free lunches. Everyone knows about that. And because when we'll be charging, then only our value for the services would be recognized anywhere. Non-charging, there is no recognition at all. In 10AB, it is for application for registration. It is for already registered. It is for registration approval under 12A, after 5 years renewal, after 3 years provisional registrations. Right. So we have discussed. This is for clause 1 and 6. This is for 2 to 5. Now, coming straightforward to form 10A. Para 1, para 2. Para 1 talks about the name, address, contact details as per the database of the applicant. So you'll be filling out that along with the PAN and all those details. Then application for registration under which section? 12A, 80G, 2023C, etc. Select one of the following code in row 2 drop down. Choose correctly. Choose correctly. I am just showing you the codes. The codes. 12A1 clause I1. Section 12(1)(a)(1) AC clause 1, that is a trust which is already registered. Already registered. Right? 6, 1 and 6 I told. 6 is for provisional. Choose code 2. For application under section 1023C4, first clause 1 of first proviso. 3. 23C5. This is 4, this is 5. Again, clause 1. 6, 6A. 1. Code 4, 5, 6. Then for, these are for existing one. These are for existing one. For provisional new ones, again, 4, 5, 6 and 7, 6A. Clause 4. 7, 8, 9, 10. So you have to choose existing, new. Choose your code accordingly. Here I talked 1 and 6, here it is 1 and 4. Again 80G, 1 existing, 4 new. Code 11, code 12. So choosing of the code becomes very, very important. Existing is clause 1 and 4 or 6. 6 is for the trust 12A, for other it is clause 4. Right? For 35, fifth proviso 35. Again, clause 2, scientific research, social science, statistical research, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. All these are for section 35. Fifth proviso section 35. The code you have to choose, whether it is a research association, university, college institution, or a company. So selection of code, because the form would become, certain portions would become operative, certain would not become operative. So if I talk about 1 to 12 are related to my 12A 2023C 80G, 13 to 19 are 35. The codes. So choose under which clause you are applying. Understand, 1 is for existing and the end one 4 or 6 is for first time registration under 10A. Right? And here it is an intimation. The registration for 35 is in form 3CF. So after getting there, register, intimate out. Right? 10A clause 3 and 4. Any questions up to this point, please, on these codes? Any questions? I hope these codes are very clear, because while filling this becomes very, very important. I know it will take hardly few minutes, Just when you are going through this, you'll understand within a minute. Any questions? One hand raised is there. I don't know who's. Sarvanaji, should we go ahead?
Yes, sir. Proceed, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So, para 3, please select the nature of activities. You have to select one. Charitable, religious come charitable, specify other. Nature of activities. If the applicant selects code 11 or 12, that is for ATG, then option religious in row is not applicable. Of course, we know that for religious, ATG is not there. Right? If applicant selects code 13 to 19, that is my 35, then row 3, that is nature of activities, and row 5, objects shall not be filled, because that is pure and intimation. Pure intimation. So don't get worried that if on selection of code which are not activated. If you're selecting religious, then of course my ATG would not be applicable. If I select 13 to 19, then because that is all for the scientific research, so that is pure and intimation, so nature of activities and objects will not be there. Then I have to select the type of constitution, whether it is a trust, society, company, or others. In para 4 of form 10. Right? 5 is, of course, my objects that will be going. 6, whether the trust deed contains clause that the trust is irrevocable. Yes or no? Now here we found a difficulty while applying. Now suppose it is a Section 8 company or a society. Now a trust can be revocable or irrevocable. A society or a company, they cannot be irrevocable. They cannot be revocable. They are automatically irrevocable. Once given. So the question here, now here there is an issue. Because if I talk about the trust deed, there is a company or society, but this clause still is active. So I have to write no. Because the society, when it's registered under society registration 1860, there would be no irrevocable clause. No? Para 7. Whether the applicant is registered on Darpan portal, this is by Niti Aayog, or FCRA Act, or any provision of the Income Tax Act. Now, this would be there if I'm already there. If I'm, say, I'm choosing 10A, say I code 1 or code 11. In those cases, relevant law or portal, registration number, date of registration, authority country registration, date from which registration is effective. You need to have the copy of FCRA or 12A and ATG registration, 1023C registration. You need to have a copy of that while filling this form. Right? So you need to have, you fill all these details. So if there are 2 registrations, suppose you are filling 10A for my 12A. So what we have done, we have got 12A and ATG both registration. So under this, you can fill more than one. So fill one for 12A, one for ATG. If you've got FCRA, fill for FCRA also. If you've got Darpan, fill for Darpan also. You can have 4. Right? Whether any application for the registration made by the applicant in the past has been rejected, yes or no. So you have made an application, registered, and now you are applying again. So this is for the new one, existing one, no need to fill it. Of course, no date would be there. Whether claiming exemption under clause 1021 of the Income Tax Act, yes or no? This 8A and B. Now, 9. Details of the authors, founders, settler, trustee, members of the society, members of the governing council, directors, shareholders holding more than 5% of the shareholding, office bearers as no date of application. So you have to give the serial number, name, relation, they are member, founder, president, secretary, whatever you want to say, trustee, percentage of the shareholding in case of a shareholder, which is a company, unique identification number, Aadhaar, PAN, whatever you have of that person, its ID code. Here you will say what is the nature, PAN or Aadhaar, and there the code would be there, the address, mobile number, and email. For relation, select author, founder, settler. There's a drop-down box in relation. Drop-down box. So select out of this. In case a person is not an individual, then provide details of natural persons who are beneficial owners 5% or more of such person on the date of application. The form itself says so. This para 9 talks about the details of the governing body and all those persons. Right? 10 to 19. 10, important. Has return of income been filed for the last assessment year for which the due date has expired? So if I'm filing today, so for March 20, you have filed yes or no. If you have filed, say yes. You have not filed, say no. And if you say no here, then these details in 10 to 19 has to be provided. Corpus, funds, reserves, and surplus other than corpus, long-term liabilities, other liabilities, land and building, other fixed assets, investment deposits made into one or more forms of the mode specified under section 11.5, investment deposits other than mentioned at 17 above, other assets. These are required. 10 to 19 has to be filed as on the date of application. And we'll see later, because it says in such a case, if you filed your ITR, you're saying yes, then not required. If you're saying no, then you have to give all these details. Para 20, income received in 3 previous years, immediately preceding the previous year in which the application is made. The year, 3 years, grant received from central or state government, grant received from companies under CSR, other specific grants, other income total. (21A) talks about whether the fund or the institution has incurred any expenditure for religious nature. Yes or no? And yes, if it is yes, then you have to give serial number, previous year, total income, expenditure of religious nature, percentage of total income, because under section 80G, not more than 5% of the income can be spent on religious purpose if you are registered under 80G. Now, row number 11 to 20 are required to be filled if applicant selects code 2, 7, 8, 9 or 10, or 10 or 12 in row 2, that is for provisional registration. Yani, if you are applying for the first time, then you have to give all these details, corpus fund and all those things. And in case applicants select 1, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 11, that is already existing, and ITR not filed, then you have to give this 11 to 20. So for the new registration, provisional registration, you have to give all those corpus, fixed assets and all those details. All details, balance sheet and all those things, all those details. Up to 20. Up to 20. So 11 to 20. If it is provisional registration or if it is registration for the existing unified, no, then you're already registered, filing your ITR within time, then 11 to 20 not required. In case applicant selects 12 in row 2, then 12A, 12B are to be filled. This is for provisional. 12 is for the new registration under section 80G. The relevant documents, of course, they are required to be attached as per the section codes and the documents which are asked. You know, everything is self-certified. Copy of instrument document creating trust or establishing institution. Either it is an instrument or the document. Self-certified copy of registration with ROC, registrar of firm, society of societies or registrar of public trust, jahan par wo registered, wherever they are registered. So that copy. If there is any, in case there is an adoption, there is change, self-certified copy of the documents evidencing our adoption or modification of the objects. Self-certified copy of the existing order of granting registration, of course, wherever I'm applying for the existing trust. In case it has been rejected earlier, self-certified copy of rejection of application for the grant or registration for section 12A. Self-certified copies of annual accounts of the trust not more than 3 years immediately preceding year in which the application is made. These three would be required for the new registration or no ITR if no ITR has been filed. Self-certified copies of tax audit report if there is a business undertaking. Note on the activities of the trust or institution only again for the fresh, not for the existing one. Because existing you've already filed the ITR. Na? And after 5 years, they would be digging in detail. So these are the documents which you should be ready. And for the old trusts, the problem is with this. The problem is with this. Where it is. You may be having the number, but you might not be having that document copy, which are say registered in early 60s, 50s or 70s. Try and dig that. If you're not having that, you won't be getting the registration. Any questions up to this point, please? Ganesh ji's question, what to do in case of oral trust having registration, particularly at 0.67? Now, in case of oral trust, because these were their very, very early stages, this is what I'm talking. So in case of oral trust, which are charitable and got registered at that time, now you'll have to create a document and say that it was oral trust and attach it with, I don't know whether they will give or not. A charitable trust not having irrevocable class, will 12A be granted? No, it will not, because these are the questions they are asking immediately. Again, Ganesh ji, oral trust having 12A, they are not having those documents. So you just need to get it self-certified from the trustees that it was an oral trust. But then when it was an oral trust, what were the objects? what were the objects and how they were charitable and how they are charitable. We have to now convert that into, now these are very practical issues for the old trusts. In today's date, they are not accepting any trust which is through just a trust deed which is not registered anywhere. Vishwanathanji question is that for a trust, registration has been rejected and after that ITAT order has been granted. Is it necessary to file both the rejected order and the approved order? In my view, only the approved order, because it is already existing. Objects were mentioned in 12A, Ganeshji is saying. Here it would be very, because here it would be done by CPC Bangalore. And you need to explain it through a document that it was an oral trust and these were the objects in 12A. Because currently oral trusts, they are not accepting. So you need to wait what their response would be on that. Either you'll have to convert that oral trust into writing now and then get it registered in the coming time. Practically, yes, I agree. I am not very sure they would be how the CPC Bengaluru would be taking such oral trusts or trusts which were not registered, trusts or that the documents are not registered. Because instrument for registration, the instruments are there. For documents, they may not be registered. But in your case, you're saying it was totally an oral trust. So it may be a early 1950s or 60s trust. Or at that time, the AO must have granted it because there was no requirement. The law had not settled that much. But nowadays, they're not agreeing to that. So again, you'll have to fight and tell the trustees to convert it into writing. Right, Ganesh? Because Ramanathanji, after your question is for how many years back Income Tax Department asked for accounts and records. Two things. After 30th of June 2021, in the normal circumstances, they can ask for 3 years. But in case it is evidenced by certain assets like immovable property, temple, or all the things, they can go up to 10 years. This amendment is there under section 148, read with 148A. 148 amendment has already been made, so I have to be very careful. But if it is a small trust, donation received after 1st April 2017 by a trust which is not registered under section 12A, there would be a problem. There would be a problem. Because in hands of the trust, that income would be taxable. So please take care, get 12A registration. Shridharanji, is registration necessary for old trust? Yes, it is there required for the old trust also. Now here you can fight and say, okay, you're saying registration with the sub-registrar. You can still fight because that is still legally not mandatory, that it should be registered with the sub-registrar. But still you should have a trust document. Instead of oral trust, it has to be a written trust. Only then the question of irrevocable clause being in the trust, because what they have put in has been done through various requirements which they have brought in. Because if it becomes a revocable trust, then that is a very basic condition for section 11 exemption, section 12 exemption. Because it starts with other than section 64, where it is a revocable. So if it is a revocable, that income tax is not given. So that is a very, very important point. But now the question is, but society or a company, there is no case of a revocation. Something like that. A trust can be a revocable or revocable. A company or society cannot be revocable. Right? Any other question, please?
Sir, one more question, sir. Sir, actually, due to late filing of audit report and all, I received an intimation for 143.1. Whether any impact for filing registration regarding this intimation?
No, I don't think so, because it is not withdrawal. It is not granting you exemption for that 1 year. Your 12 still remains.
Okay.
The 12 still remains. Jay Shankarji, in such case, whether notary attestation will suffice? In my view, yes. In my view, yes. Notary attestation should suffice. Actually, the issue is this faceless thing which we are facing. Officers throughout the country are having different views. So it is not standardized. Now, in the CPC, because these would be the new cases they would be handling for the first time. So what are the guidelines given? Who gives it? If I talk about CIT exemption within Delhi or a CIT exemption within Chandigarh, they both views are different. In Delhi, you get the registration still a bit easy. In Gurgaon, everything is rejected. In Chandigarh, it is rejected. So it depends upon the CIT to CIT, DIT to DIT. But now, when it would be centralized and the trust deed or the bylaws contains the objects, this was the purpose that it has been moved. It has been moved from the Red Bengaluru so that the initial registrations are not hampered. They don't face the whims and fancies or the officers who are jurisdiction based and they take their own call. So I'm hoping that the initial registration and the initial provisional registration should not be that tough. But yes, after 5 years, every 5 years, you'll have to see that the trusts are doing those charitable activities, or if it's a religious trust, doing those religious activities, and getting that done every 5 years would be required. And annual filing of those donations again, that would be required. Right? Going further, so the process for 10A, so form 10 is for existing or for provisional. So the DIT CPC pass an order in form 10AC and issue 16-digit alphanumeric unit registration number URN. 16-digit alphanumeric unique registration number URN. So that would be quoted. They also said that if any point of time it is noticed that form 10A has not been duly filled in or not by not providing fully or partly or providing false or incorrect information or documents required after giving an opportunity of being heard, were granted or issued. Now, this here I feel so. Maybe on filing, the trust may be getting that URN. We have filed a few days back, still not received anything because due to maybe pandemic, it has not begun yet. So let us see how the response comes. For provisional registration, of course, when I will doing in the financial year 21-22, it would be effective from that year itself. FY 21-22 would be effective from 10AB. Authorities are yet to be notified that who will be processing it. But of course, for converting from provisional to the normal registration or renewal of the registration, AO would be, or renewal of the provisional itself, AO would call for such documents or information in order to satisfy about the compliance of such requirements for the time of time being enforced by the trust or institution as are material for the purpose of achieving objects, compliances, returns filed, 10B filed, and all those things. Right? 10BD now yet to be deployed. This is for the statements of donation received under section 80G and 35. It says the due date of filing this statement can be by 31st May, and certificate is also in form 10AE also by 31st May. So the statements filed up to 31st May 2022 for assessment year 2022-23, the certificate would also be by 31st May. So talking about this, my ITR process for 22-23 would actually begin after 31st May, or in fact, I would say by 15th June, because my other TDS certificates also are online issued up to 15th June. The form says it can be revised, it can be corrected, it can be multiple forms can be filed. I really need to see, because if I see rule 18AB, it just says it has to be filed by 31st May. The form says multiple forms can be filed, it can be revised, it can be corrected. Let the form be deployed. Then we have to see. The rule further says that aggregating of the amounts is allowed. Now, suppose a person has given donation under 80 35 both. Then they say he has to take into account all donations of the same paid at percent. So he has paid 120,000, 30,000 once. Now, another thing which has been set into the rules: proportionately attribute the value of donations or aggregated value of all donations to all persons. That is where donation is received in the name of more than one person, and where no proportion is specified, attribute equally to all donors. So, give a simple example. Many of us gave donation for PM cares to ICI. The certificate would be issued by PM Care Fund, when ICI would be giving that proportionate value of the total amount which has been given. That Mr. A, so Mr. So and so, the whole details. So that PM Cares Fund for a single donation amount would be giving the names of all. So single donation, so that they have brought in, because in this time, pandemic, and otherwise earlier also when there were flood or earthquakes, various persons joined together and gave those donations to the government. These are normally happening at the government stage. Or certain organization, they deduct from the employees 1 month salary or something like that, which they readily agree to give. So 50% of the salary, and then the company gives the single donation. So taking that into account, they have brought in out. First, that currently for the existing registered trusts and societies under 12A and 80G, you have to file Form 10A by 30th June. For 011, one forms charged for two separate forms, have their document through which it is registered or it is incorporated, have the 12A certificate copy, ensure whether the previous year ITR has been filed or not. If it is filed, then yes, then 11 to and file it online ASAP and charge appropriately. Right? Any questions on this? Because this was purely on Form 10A. Just to bring to your information, there is a portal, experts panel, exptrs.in, expertspanel.in, and also the mobile expertspanel.in. Here you can sign up. It is all free. So when you sign up, you'll get an email with a link. You just click on that link, your account is activated free of any charge. And thereafter, you can ask any question on any subject. You choose a category: GST, income tax, company law, audit, bank, international tax, FEMA, RBI, so many. Your questions answer would be coming to your email. Your questions would remain here. You can just click on this and see the answer. Question asked by someone else, you can just search from questions, articles, presentations, search, and the results would be there. Lot of articles are there, presentations are there, videos are there, notifications are there, category wise. Click here, you'll get everything. More than 25,600 answers have already been given by more than 115 experts throughout the country. This presentation also I'll upload out here. So when you go to presentation, it would be on the top, and when more presentations are there, you can go to presentation and income tax, search or type here and search and get it. So here the presentation articles, videos are there are so many experts throughout the country. And of course, this presentation I'll also upload on this portal, Lunawat.com. Also, this is a free mobile app, Lunawat, where all updates are there, all ready to use charts are there. Since year 2007, you can use this also, download this also. And thank you for inviting me, hearing me out, and asking so many questions. Now, you can also join me on Twitter or LinkedIn anytime, right? I'm available all the other places. So any questions, I am ready to take, please. I suppose few questions or not. Vishwanathanji question is there. Is it possible to register the deed in local language, or we have to register in English now as we have moved centrally? Yes, very good question. It is better that if it is a local language, that deed you have, along with that, you file a copy of the translation, which is duly certified. So that should suffice. That should suffice. It is not that if it is centralized, so it has to be English or in Hindi. Your local language, if it is registered, then you can still go. But in future, when you are going for the new ones, better to go in English or in Hindi. Thank you.
Members, any questions, please? Members? Will we conclude?
We had actually restricted topic of specifically this form, the registration involved. So I kept into that only. I did not digress.
Shall we conclude? Members? Any questions, please? Thank you, C. Pramod Jain sir, for accepting our request, and thank you for your excellent presentation. And you also given that two websites, expertspanel.in and luna.com. We'll make use of it, sir. We'll follow it, sir. Huh? Once physical activity starts, we invite you to Kumbhakonam. As per
My
our
pleasure.
request. With the
My
family.
pleasure. My pleasure.
Sir, yes, sir. Thank you for your excellent time, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks to all. Thank you.
Thank you.